What is up, guys? It's Josh back with SobrietyWoD. If it's your first time, welcome. And if it's not your first time, welcome back. Today is class 63. That's how many it's been. And if you guys been around, that's really incredible. Today we're talking about goals and behavior. And I was on the phone with a buddy one time, and I was talking about some decisions that I was looking at making. And his evaluation of my thought process was in the terms of, yeah, that sounds like a good idea. I don't think that that's an example of you changing your goals to match your behavior. And that kind of stood out to me. And we didn't really talk about it anymore, but it just stuck and kind of was constantly running around in my head. And that's what I was thinking about this week. And so I actually looked it up and found the quote that it's from. There's a guy that says that he's found that one of the primary differences between alcoholics and non-alcoholics is that non-alcoholics change their behavior to meet their goals, and alcoholics change their goals to meet their behaviors. So it kind of sat heavy with me, and I thought back about my life in active addiction and how often that was true. How I'd set my sights on something that I wanted to achieve that was pretty lofty and meaningful, exciting, and then I always had to contend with my addiction. I always had to contend with myself. I always had to find a way to get around the fact that I couldn't control myself when it came to certain things. And so that was always inhibitory. I tried to finish college and it was like, oh, but this drinking thing. And I tried to, build a business, and it was like, oh yeah, but this drinking thing keeps getting in the way. And so what happened was, like, as I got beat down by it time and time again, and it's relationship goals, financial goals, anything, as I continued to get beat down by it, it was too hard to imagine actually changing my behavior, or the weight of changing my behavior, where it became very much easier to just change my goals. And then deceive myself into thinking that I was right about changing my goals, that I really did want less, that I really did not think that those things were valuable or important, when really looking back at it, it was really just the fact that I knew that I couldn't stay consistent with the behaviors that were required to attain those things. Since then, I have been able to complete tasks. I have been able to stick with things. Had a rough time in recovery, going through some things in business and stuff like that, where a part of me, felt completely justified to just bail out, and then another part of me was like, that's the old you kind of deal. And so had to face that reality again. And it's an easy way to remember, to think about, and maybe to question ourselves when we're coming up to a decision. Is that what I'm doing? Am I making a different choice because I really don't believe in myself to be able to stick with the behaviors that it would require to attain that goal? So for your discussion, it's just, was your experience similar to that quote? Was your time not in recovery similar to, or did you have experience where, you kind of lowered your standards over and over to meet your behavior, rather than looking at something you wanted to achieve, looking at what it would take to get there, and being able to commit to that, and just talk about that. And then, did it change after? One of the big things about sobriety to me is the liberty. And I wasn't at liberty to set certain goals because all of my goals had to account for my addiction. That was a prison. I was limited to what I could do and be. And one of the examples I think of is just, I see a lot of addiction in in self-employment jobs, or like construction. That's what I was doing, because it allowed me to work around my addiction. If I didn't show up for 2 or 3 days, like, I worked for myself, and then really forget about having a job where you might have to take a drug test or something like that. So it was just, my behavior had an effect. My inability to change my behavior had a humongous effect on what I could even imagine and dream doing. So you guys talk about that for a little bit, and then we'll be right back.